On March 16, 2020, the health officer of Alameda County issued an order that has been continued through May 31st, directed all individuals living in the county, shelter in place, residents, except that they may leave to provide or receive certain essential services or engage in essential activities, work with essential business government agencies. You're all listening, right? Under the governor's executive services or engage in essential activities. Somebody needs to mute.
Okay.
Under the governor's executive order N2920, this meeting may utilize teleconferencing as a precaution to protect the health and safety of staff, officials, general public, council members will not be physically in attendance, but available via video conference. The supervisors will not be physically in attendance either. The regular meeting facilities for the meetings of the board of directors is currently closed to the public and will remain closed for the duration of the shelter-in-place order. Consequently, there will be no physical location for members of the public to participate in this meeting. We encourage members of the public to shelter in place across the meeting online using instructions listed on the agenda. Online attendees will have the opportunity to speak during public comment. If you would like to submit public comment via email, please do so by 11 a.m. on Wednesday, September 9th, 2020 to comments@valleylinkrail.com. Please include public comment 9/9/2020 on the agenda subject line. In the body of the email, please include your full name. Public comments submitted will be read during public comment and will also be subject to the regular 3-minute time restriction. The board of directors will be conducted on the web video communication platform Zoom. To view or participate in this meeting, members of the public will need to either download Zoom from the website zoom.us. It is, by the way, their stock is going crazy. It is recommended that anyone wishing to participate in the meeting complete the download process before the start of the meeting. To listen without viewing, the members of the public may also do so. To join the meeting by calling in via telephone. A live stream will also be available on YouTube channel without the ability to make public comment. All public comments shall be subject to the regular 3-minute time restriction. There will be zero tolerance for any person addressing the board making profane, offensive, and disruptive remarks, or engaging in loud, boisterous, and other disorderly conduct that disrupts the orderly conduct of this public meeting. Okay, John? All right. So with that, I am calling this meeting to order. We will dispense of the public comment today. I would just ask that no, I said that wrong. Sorry, let me hold on. We will dispense of the public Jesus, I'm saying it again. The Pledge of Allegiance. And the only thing that I would ask is because when we all stand up, everybody can see is our big bellies, and it's just not an appealing thing. So we won't do it, but I would ask that you maybe do some sort of patriotic moment sometime throughout your life today. And maybe that's just hugging a firefighter. And having said that, I would say it would be difficult for me to start this meeting today without noting what we are experiencing, the smoke, the dark skies. In a recent statement, Governor Newsom said that over 2 million acres have burned so far. And we haven't even hit the peak season of fire. He went on to say that we're experiencing an unprecedented confluence of issues, record high temperatures resulting in heat dome that all felt in the Bay Area. Over 14,000 lightning strikes occurred over a 72-hour period. Add to that, we have 150 plus million dead trees related to a 5-year historic drought. So the governor has often said Mother Nature has joined the conversation, and it is just not possible to deny the reality of climate change. I'm proud of the work that we're doing here at Valley Link. It is important work. We're estimating that our project will reduce over 99.4 million vehicles traveled, or VMT, in 2040, resulting in a reduction of 33,880 to 42,650 metric tons of greenhouse gases emissions per year. I would also like to thank and acknowledge, as I'm sitting right here at the base camp for CAL FIRE, to acknowledge our brave firefighters in service that throughout the California, they're getting very tired by now. And, whoever thought that a gender reveal party would start one of the most fastest growing fires ever. And I'm sorry, that kid's college education has already been spent. So please, like I said, they're selfless in their efforts. We truly appreciate that. I also want to say, because this never gets said, but there's a lot of police and sheriffs up in burn areas protecting homes too, to make sure they don't get looted during evacuation, things like that. So really just a great time to salute our public service. And we're just also proud of them. And I know that as mayors and council members, we're very proud of our own group of people. And I would just say that, you know, make sure you thank them. It's important. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go to a roll call of the members.
Director Akinju.
Pardon me?
Yeah, let's see. Let me unmute. Let me
You're
unmute myself.
unmuted.
I'm here.
You are unmuted.
Okay.
You are unmuted.
Okay, here, ma'am.
Okay, Director Cantu. I do not see him. Director Elliott. Director Haggerty, Vice Chair. Chair Haggerty.
Here.
Director Hernandez.
I'm here.
Director Joe Brock. Director King Tingle. I can see her here, but she's muted. Director Mashawn.
I'm here.
Director McPartland.
Here.
Director Neeram.
I'm here.
Director Olun.
Here.
Director Stepper.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Vargas. Let's see here. Director Warner. Director Zuba.
Here.
Okay, and
Tingle is
Director
unmuted.
King Tingle. Yes, gotcha. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And we do not have Director Elliott.
I saw where he
Oh,
joined.
I see his name. Director Elliott.
Joined.
Hello? I see him there. He's muted and unmuted, but we do have a quorum.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll now move to public comment. It's the time in which you can speak to anything that is not on today's agenda. Let me see what I got. I see nobody wishing to speak. Okay. Do you have anything in writing?
Yes, we had one letter, and it was a letter from Terra Land Group. And that letter has been posted online, and is able, everybody's able to view it there.
Okay, well, thank you. That letter's been posted online, so that's fine. I'm going to move to the consent calendar, which kind of consists of item 4A and B.
I'll move consent calendar.
Wait a minute. Did I do something wrong? No, yes, go ahead. Thank you, John.
I second.
I'll second.
Where was the second?
Tingle.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote, and just call our last names, please. It'll be faster.
Okay. Akinjo,
Yes, ma'am.
Cantu, not here. Elliott,
So item 6 is pulled, right?
Haggerty,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
King Tingle,
Yes.
Marshawn,
Yes.
McPartland,
Yes. Yes.
Neeram,
Yes.
Olun.
Aye.
Stepper. Stepper.
Enter the meeting password followed by
Yes. Stepper, yes.
Zuba.
have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter the meeting password followed by pound.
Okay, motion passes. Scott, you're muted.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we'll move on now to the executive director's report.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I do have a couple of slides to show. Let me get them up and share them. All right. Everyone see the slide?
That's a very
Yes.
nice one, Michael. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there we go. You know, I thought that there wouldn't be much to talk about coming out of August, where a lot of us were on vacation at various points. But my goodness, by the time I listed them this morning, I thought I'd create a couple of slides just to help me work through them. Since we've last met, there's been a lot going on. Certainly Plan Bay Area 2050 is among the highlights. As you'll recall from previous discussion, that is the regional transportation plan in the 9-county Bay Area. And we were seeking to be included in the fiscally constrained portion of that plan. The project Valley Link scored really well amongst the top passenger rail projects that were rated. And so then it became a matter of assignment to Valley Link of a period 1, which is projects that would happen prior to 2035, and a period 2, which would be projects that would happen after. We originally were placed in period 2, but with a lot of public support and a lot of work from Chair Haggerty at MTC, who's also obviously your chair with Valley Link, the board approved Valley Link to be in period 1, which is huge for the project, especially as we go out and we look for competitive funding. To be listed in period 1 raises a sense of priority that's given to the project. So good things happening with Plan Bay Area in regard to the project. The Valley Link EIR and the 15% design, this has been the product that your consultant AECOM, the engineering firm, has been helping you with. The EIR is still scheduled to come out this fall. So probably in October, you'll see the EIR out for public comment. The 15% design has been completed. Little later on the agenda, you'll see the ridership modeling that was done. And then, as you'll recall, we've already seen the operations modeling. We wanted to model the train at 12-minute frequency throughout the system to minimize the impact to BART in 2040. So we'll talk about, well, you know that works. We've showed you that works, and then we'll talk about the 15% design update, which results in a cost update to the project a little later in the meeting. The big one, without a doubt, is ACTC, the Alameda County Transportation Commission. They oversee the Measure BB. In particular, Measure BB in the transportation expenditure plan has BART to Livermore. It has $400 million for the project. In September, well, sometime back, I'd have to go back and look at the date, but some time ago, we asked for amendments to the transportation expenditure plan to have the Tri-Valley San Joaquin Valley Regional Rail Authority recognized as an eligible agency to receive Measure BB funds, and then also an amendment to transfer that $400 million from the BART to Livermore project to the Valley Link project. So a public, a member agency comment period was held. It closed in July, and September is the big month for decision-making for that commission. On Monday, September 14th, the Monday coming up, the Planning and Policy and Legislative Committee, which they term as the PPLC committee, will meet. It needs to move from the PPLC committee, those amendments with an approval by the majority of the member of the committee. Then it will be in front of the full commission, assuming it moves out of committee on September 24th, so a little bit later in the month. And there the commission needs to have a 2/3 vote to approve those amendments. So we're working diligently behind the scenes with the community and member agencies and getting letters of support, making phone calls. Chairman Haggerty is working behind the scenes with commissioners to talk about the project and that consideration. So I'll email you more as we go through the month on how that's going. Obviously, that's huge. That's a lot of money to leverage with state and federal money on the project. So it's a top priority. In regard to Valley Link and NEPA, you'll be finishing up CEQA in the near future. As mentioned, we plan to roll right into NEPA. We have been looking at two alternatives. I'll bring back more information on these at a future board meeting, but one alternative is to actually work with the state to have the High-Speed Rail Authority be the lead agency for NEPA on the Valley Link project. The other option is the FTA, and we've had good discussions with the FTA about them being the lead agency. There are certain advantages for sure with having the California High-Speed Rail Authority be the lead agency with NEPA. And again, I'll bring back more information on that in the future. Just a couple of other slides here. The City of Tracy is still working on the approval for the O&M facility for the Valley Link project. They'll be meeting again in September to basically finalize the giving of that property for the project. And then the City of Tracy is also working on Measure Y. For those of you who are following that, you know that that's the change to the city's growth management ordinance, and it allows exemptions for housing near the downtown Tracy Transit Center, which obviously will be a stop for Valley Link, as well as other potential rail stations in the city, perhaps Ellis, Mountain House, so on. You know, if passed, the revised ordinance will give transit-oriented development priority in terms of how the cities issue building permits. So that's something to watch, and certainly supportive of your TOD planning. I would like to say a lot of the staff that work here at the authority come from LAFTA. Your executive director, your chief finance officer, Tamara, your marketing and public affairs director, Tony McCauley, and would like to make note, exciting for the LAFTA agency, that the American Public Transit Association has named the Transit Agency of the Year in the small operator category. So that's the first time in 35 years for LAFTA to be named a Transit Agency of the Year. I should say it's first time in 35 years since the inception of the agency. So excited about that. I do want to mention the Tri-Valley Hub study. CalSTA, the California State Transportation Authority, has asked LAFTA to head up a study in regard to the Dublin-Pleasanton station. Obviously, it's a huge hub in the state rail plan. You have connections there with Valley Link and BART. You have nearby ACE and their station, and you have both express buses and BRTs and local buses coming in and out of the station. So I'll bring back information and how that study is materializing at a future meeting, but it's pretty exciting to be kind of at the forefront. Your leadership here at the agency, your executives, in the visioning and the actual planning for that Tri-Valley hub over the long term, making sure connections work seamlessly through those different modes. And I do want to mention quickly down at the bottom, that's the LAFTA shared autonomous vehicle. I mention this because it's up in testing after quite a process. And when we did a lot of public outreach, especially in Mountain House and in Tracy and in River Islands in particular, they were very interested in having this first last mile technology into the Valley Link train system, servicing those stations. And so if you're interested in the future at receiving kind of a tour, maybe a private viewing of the autonomous vehicle and testing, let me know. We're working on more of a public launch where folks in the community can come and ride the shared autonomous vehicle, be a media event followed by the ability of residents to just come in and ride it at a time that's convenient to them. I'll let you know more about that as we develop that timeline. I would like to mention there's been a couple of events where Valley Link was really a key focal point of the event. Supervisor Haggerty recently, I think it was August 27th, held his State of the County. And a lot of the discussion there by the moderator and discussion by Scott was certainly, it revolved around the Valley Link project. Vice Chair Vargas attended a Mountain House board meeting, I think on August 20th, and gave them an update. And then interestingly, there was a virtual town hall meeting. Supervisor Kathy Miller and Council Member Rhodesia Ransom in Tracy held this virtual town hall meeting. Supervisor Miller is running for Assembly Member Eggman's seat. I think it's District 13. And Council Member Ransom is running for a county supervisor seat. And out of that hour-and-a-half meeting, the majority of the discussion was on Valley Link. So it was exciting to be a part of that meeting and to listen to the support from folks basically submitting questions that those two policymakers answered. And then finally, just want to let you know, we continue to engage and work with Union Pacific. They're a key part of Valley Link in the Central Valley. And recently they had a transfer of our contact person. And so we're getting a new person to work with, a new team, and anticipate meeting with them soon. And then finally, as part of the legislative update, certainly the legislation's been working on the worsening public health situation and the staggering budget deficit, the COVID issues and the fires. And so our legislation basically will be introduced in the new session in February. And as you'll recall, we were seeking to amend AB 758 to provide the authority with design build capability and a couple of other project delivery tools to put in your toolbox, as well as an exemption for local zoning, which is typical for a transit agency to receive those exemptions. So that pretty much concludes my executive director's report. Just as a kind of a look at the near future, we'll be bringing you a BART MOU at the next meeting. And that will be an MOU in regard to seconded BART employees that work on the Valley Link project. And then also just an update on, obviously on your agenda today is a significant contract for general engineering services, all in a matter of kind of preserving time. I'll just wait till that agenda item. And then finally, the organizational structure at Valley Link. I did want to spend just a minute to talk briefly about how the organization is evolving internally in regard to who's doing what. And Rick, are you okay sharing those couple of slides? Rick has like 3 slides. We've been working off the principle on this project of being fast and being, cost effective and responsive. And I just wanted to make sure you were aware of how we were evolving those working on the project, what it looks like behind the scenes.
Yeah, Michael, I'm ready anytime, and thank you. I need you to stop sharing your screen. I think I can do that. So I have now done that. I assume the screen for the project goals is up right now?
Yep.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, and members of the board. My name is Rick Rattray. I've been with the authority 6 months now and working fast and furiously to try and get up to speed and keep the momentum going. I understand these goals very well: fast, cost-effective, and responsive. I want to walk you through what these mean to me, and then I'll walk you through my envisioned organizational structure and a little bit of how I see the transition from the AECOM scope to the new proposed GEC. Fast to me, right now we have a great opportunity to position authority for federal stimulus. So I want to move the next phase of design and environmental as fast as possible to be ready for any funds that come our way. In addition to that, I want to make sure that we get this service started as soon as possible and serve the community that is so desperately in need of trains and getting off the highway. I just can't even imagine how these people do it some days. And then in terms of cost effectiveness, my view on cost effectiveness is there's really three major areas we'll be focusing on. There's the capital, the operating, and administrative staff for bringing the project to fruition. On the capital, we want a first-class project, but we need to do that without any frills and bells and whistles. We need to make sure we serve the communities and meet their needs, but we don't want to build Taj Mahal. We need something that's fundable and maintainable. Similarly with operating is a significant ongoing annual cost. And I plan to initiate a concept of operations study very shortly with the new GEC that will determine the proper staffing requirements. We will, with that, figure out how we're going to work with the cities in terms of police and fire presence and response, so that we are not trying to do everything everywhere over the 42-mile extension. It just doesn't work. So we will be working collaboratively with everybody involved in all the jurisdictions to come up with this concept, as well as figuring out the systems integration components. And last thing really is, the staffing to bring the project to fruition. I really believe that I've got the best of the best in the industry throughout the organization. The team of experts. I've been doing this for 25 years in transit, and I'm really happy to bring the team forward that you'll be seeing and that you partially approved with the project management support services contract being awarded to coal management and engineering. Also, there are no superfluous department managers. We're keeping management costs low. And I want to continue that vein because I want the team to be collaborative and efficient. And part of that goal of being efficient is we all work as one goal, we work together. And when COVID pandemic passes, I really want to take the key individuals and co-locate in a project office to even enhance that further. Taking these steps will make sure that we have a lower overhead than what is the industry average for projects of this nature. So I want to share with you my vision of the Valley Link Rail organization. Both Michael and I are here to deliver the Valley Link Rail project on behalf of the board of the directors. To assist me in this effort, Michael mentioned a couple of seconded personnel. They are the blue boxes, and they represent a civil structural project manager and the systems and vehicles project manager. As I mentioned, I've been doing this 25 years, and these are my chosen two people to fill this slot. I feel very fortunate to be able to get a hold of them, and really excited about the opportunities that we're going to bring forward with the skills of this group, as well as the coal management and project management support services contract that also has a number of people for staff augmentation in a number of different areas. We have an agreements manager, we have project controls, we have everything necessary to make sure that the general engineering consultant has the proper oversight and direction that would be required by most of the funding agencies. So, and then the general engineering consultant, which is here before you today, really their primary goal is to do the preliminary engineering for both the rail system and the highway system, as well as the federal environmental process, administrative and procurement support, and then helping us with vehicle selection criteria. So there could be some confusion as to, what AECOM's doing and what is the proposed general engineering consultant doing. AECOM has completed the 15% design, as Michael mentioned, and their work will wind up early next year with bringing the proposed project and the CEQA document to the board for approval at that time. Shortly after this meeting, should we get your authorization to award the contract to the GEC, we'll start the preliminary engineering, the PAD, which is the Caltrans terminology for the same thing. And then as Michael mentioned, after the CEQA is done, we'll begin the federal environmental process to try and be positioned for any of the federal stimulus or other federal funds that become available. But that's how I see it right now. It's going to be evolving, but I'm very excited with the talent of the people we have. I believe it's the best of the best. And I really want to make sure this project gets on the ground as soon as possible. So with that, I'll turn it back to Michael.
Yeah, gotcha. And I'm done with my presentation, Chair. So if there's any questions, be happy to answer.
All right, I know Elliot had a question. Bob,
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Great. All right. I'd been trying to get the audio to work here, so I just wanted to check in on a voice capability here and say that my vote was yes on the consent items.
Okay, so essentially this was a mic check?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And it was also a recorded vote.
Okay.
Thank you, I got it.
All right, Vargas, you want to vote too on the consent calendar? Hey, I like that. It says Scott Haggerty where you're.
Thank you for sending me the link, Scott. Yes,
That's why you came in on my link. You might want to change your name.
they're doing that right now. Candace just called me.
There you go.
Thanks, Scott. Yes,
I looked good for a minute. All right. So with that, first of all, I just going back to the executive director's report, I just want to say that at MTC, we were not in program 1, we were in program 2, which a lot of the commissioners couldn't figure out the reason why, and they really put on a full court press. Jim Sperring comes to mind. Amy Worth was a true champion. There was a lot of commissioners that really even spoke up before I did about how this was a really transformable project and it needed to be moved into program 1. So it was great to have the support of the commission to go ahead and move this forward. I think it positions us really well. I think another thing is we're certainly getting a lot of letters of support that are coming in that mostly recognize the work of this board as we shaped its success, our executive director, Michael, and the small staff that's made this all possible. So there's a lot of good things that are happening. And I can't emphasize this enough, although I've been on the phone and I'm sure John Marchand has and others that are on ACTC talking to commissioners. We have to stay within the Brown Act, but we're working our commissioners. Just about the time you think you got it nailed down, you hit a speed bump or something, and you got to go back and circle back with somebody else. But I can tell you that the commissioners that I deem that are the important ones, usually the ones with the big mouths that like to talk, they're pretty much supportive of us. And I think we'll be fine, but we should not take this for granted. And I would say that, if you can it's great to have letters from chambers of commerce and cities and everything, but if we could also get commuters that can talk about how they suffer on this commute every day and essentially wasting 56 days of their life commuting to and from work out of the valley, it would be really helpful. So having said all that, I have nothing else to say. Does anybody else have something they want to say? Okay, Bernice, did you want to speak?
Yeah, just for clarification, did I understand that $400 million was transferred to our project from ACTC Measure BB?
Not yet. It'll happen in September. Well, it'll happen later on this. It goes to committee, I think, next Monday. And then I think 2 weeks later, it goes to the full commission.
Okay, it
Yes.
hasn't happened, but that's the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I didn't, okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Veronica, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to say we will work on those commuters because I know that that's a huge part of what is needed. But we also wanted to say thank you to you and to Michael Tree for really accessible to the San Joaquin County. It's finally, I think, people is sinking in how important this is, and the movement it shows. It's a big push, but Measure Y is going to be of great importance to the Central Valley. If you haven't seen the little videos we have put over there, they're starting to circulate. And it's a lot of education that we taking the opportunity to educate about what a TOD is here in the Valley. Most folks do not understand what a transit-oriented development is and the importance it is to have that connected, of course, to the transit that just can understand and comprehend that. So we have our job cut off, the elected officials on this side. We are looking to educate, promote, and help this project on along. And we know that we have a long ways to go. We need to start next year and what is remaining of this year, start looking for opportunities to fund the construction on this side of the hill. So I think I wanted to propose that in the next few months, we'll start doing an ad hoc committee to make sure that our elected officials on this side of the hill, we start rolling our sleeves and start getting involved in legislation and within cities and networking around to start raising funds to construct Valley Link. So hopefully we can get that going. Maybe offline, we can just propose an ad hoc committee to start that work.
Very good.
You're muted, Scott.
Mary Ann just told me the 3 things in this pandemic that are being said. What was it?
Pivot.
Oh, three buzzwords that are being said since the whole COVID and Zoom. One is pivot, one is resilience, and one is you're on mute. So I'm obviously having a hard time today. All right, so with that, we're going to move off this. Item 6 is going to be continued. So we're going to move to item 7. Michael, is that you?
Yeah, I think Rick's going to tee this agenda item up.
Almost there.
Veronica, did you want to speak again?
No, Chair, I'm fine.
All right.
Do I
Keep your
need to
hand
lower
down.
my hand or something?
Your hand was up.
Let me lower it.
No, I think it is now, so we're
Okay,
good.
good.
All right, so I'm here to talk about
What the
the
heck?
engineering consultant recommendation. And
Can you, Rick? I
Yes.
wonder if you can make that bigger or something, because what we see is 2 little screens and then your notes of what you're going to say.
oh, that's not the right one. I can fix that.
You have to pinch his notes out.
What you want to see, you're right. There's the right one. Does that work?
That looks a lot better. We can even see this one.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm here to talk about the general engineering consultant recommendation. We worked furiously over the last few months to put this together. It was a big effort. And thank you for approving the project management support services contract in July. As without that contract in place, this would have been a very difficult task to deliver today. And like I said, I'm really here to try and push the project forward and keep the momentum going. And so it was important for me to try and get here as soon as possible. I'm really going to just kind of go over a little bit of what the scope of work is, a couple of the innovative things that I've thought of to address concerns that I've had with consultant selections in the past. And then I want to turn it over to Olga Perez, who is with the coal management and engineering team. And I feel very fortunate to have her with us, as she has 40 years of federal procurement background. And it's like, you know, she's, like I say, I keep mentioning the best of the best, but we definitely have some of those. And she recently resigned from the San Francisco airport as director of procurement to come join the Valley Link team. So with that, I'll go through a couple of slides before I turn it over to her. I got to click the things right, and then we go. Okay. So really what the scope of work for the engineering consultant, it's really to do the preliminary engineering, and some of this is redundant from what I just said before, but I want to make it clear that it's the preliminary engineering, the I-580 coordination, the federal environmental clearance process, vehicle selection support, and then any administrative and procurement support. And that last one's really important because I have a vision of having contracts ready to go on the street in 2 years should we get federal money. And I've got ideas of how to do that. And I want to make sure the team's there that can deliver it. And then part of the thing that is still in the contract, but it's an option. I have the option to proceed with a consultant with both final design and construction management, should that be the way we want to go. So that's really the scope of the work. And next I want to talk to you about a few things that I've experienced in the past, lessons learned, that I put some of the terms to address these things into the consultant's agreement. The first thing that's happened many, many times with me is everybody that is on an RFP, you know, they give you the cream of the crop, they give you all the eye candy. And then when you go to try and engage the team and use the personnel that they propose, for some reason, they never seem to be materializing. So I have put some clauses in the agreement that pretty much stipulates that if that happens, or there's somebody else on their team that is unacceptable, your fee for that scope of work will be reduced by 25% until you give me an acceptable replacement. So everybody's clear on this on the consultant team. I don't know that it's ever been done before. And I got a little pushback, but everybody understands it. And I think it's going to be very useful going forward to make sure that we have the best of the best, as I say, and we'll make sure that we do. And this helps me enforce that. The other thing that I've experienced over the years with the consultant industry is that often they don't, and I never could understand this, they turn in invoices 2 and 3, 4 months. I've had them as late as 6 months after the work was done. That's no way for an authority or agency to have cost controls. And so what happens is you get this stuff and they burn through all the budget, and then you got to figure out where it all went and go back and negotiate and argue and fight. It's much more difficult than it needs to be. So with coal management and engineering, we're implementing online project controls that requires the consultant to enter their time on a task-by-task basis on a weekly time period. Every week we will have that. So we'll know the real-time labor expenditures by every element that we turn on and authorize to proceed with. This really gives us the ability to eliminate overrun surprises and control what we're getting and how much we're spending. So these are just a sample of a couple of things I have in there. I clearly have more in there, but I didn't want to drag you through all the weeds of the agreement, but these are 2 of the most important ones in my mind. So I did want to share those with you. And with that, I really do want to turn it over to Olga, because she will discuss the procurement process and the staff recommendation. And like I said, I'm very happy to have her on board to assist on these efforts. So Olga, I'll stop sharing and you can take it away.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be on the Valley Link project, and I look forward to working with all of the great people involved. In July, the authority issued a competitive RFP soliciting proposals for general engineering consulting services for the Valley Link project. 3 proposals were received in early August. The authority selected an evaluation committee made up of members representing various local agencies. The evaluation committee also included 3 additional subject matter experts. All 3 proposers were shortlisted and invited to the virtual oral interviews. The WSP PGH Wong joint venture team was unanimously selected by the evaluation committee as the most highly qualified proposer. And we request authorization for the executive director to award them the general engineering consultant services contract. I would now like to call upon them to introduce their firms to you. John?
Thank you, Olga. I'm going to pull up a brief slide deck, if you just bear with me. And I will just confirm that everyone can see that. Okay, thanks so much. My name is John Fisher, and I am one of the joint venture partners for our team. And I would first like to say thank you to Chairman Haggerty and Vice Chair Vargas and members of the board for having us here today. And on behalf of our joint venture team, we are so excited to be at this point and ready to support the authority to advance this critical regional project, and really commend you on all your efforts to get to this point today. WSP, as a way of background, was founded in 1885 and was previously known as Parsons Brinkerhoff until being acquired by WSP in 2014. We established our first office in the Bay Area in the 1950s for the sole purpose of helping to plan and design the original BART system. And we have worked on almost every extension and rehabilitation project since that time. We now have over 1,000 professionals working in 9 offices across California. And most importantly, about 485 people working locally here in our 4 offices in the Bay Area and Sacramento. In addition to BART, we have been engaged in delivering some of our region's largest and most impactful infrastructure projects, like SFMTA's Central Subway project, BART Silicon Valley, California High-Speed Rail, regional express lanes, and several construction projects currently with San Joaquin County, like the Woodward Island Bridge, just to name a few. I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Cliff.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm Cliff Wong, president of PGH Wong Engineering. Connecting people, housing, and jobs, that's your vision for this project, and that's what we do for a living. PGH Wong Engineering was formed in 1985 on this basis, to improve the world we live in by implementing rail transit systems throughout the United States. Back in the 1970s, our founding principles worked to deliver the first modern heavy rail system in the United States and the first modern light rail system, respectively BART and San Diego Trolley. From there, rail transit continued to grow throughout the country through the funding of the Urban Mass Transportation Act, and now funding through agencies such as the Federal Transportation Administration, as well as local and state funding. Since then, PGH Wong Engineering has led the delivery of numerous complex rail systems and extensions throughout the US, with a focus on California, and particularly the Bay Area where we are headquartered. We have significant local transit resources who have delivered such projects as eBART commuter rail, Sonoma Marin Rail Transit, worked on nearly every single BART extension to date, as well as the Caltrain electrification project. John?
Thanks, Cliff. WSP and PGH Wong have similar cultures and a long and successful history of working together. Since 1971, we have partnered to successfully deliver many complex transit projects for the public. We collaborated on the design and delivery of the eBART extension, as well as both phases of VTA's BART Silicon Valley program and the Phoenix Valley Metro program. We have also brought on key subs like Mark Thomas and David Evans to support our team, as well as several small and local disadvantaged firms that we have worked with in the past and know will help us deliver this program. We are committed to engaging local small businesses as the program progresses to ensure that we are leveraging local talent and expertise and meeting any future federal DBE requirements. Cliff?
Our longstanding partnerships also extend to our clients. Beyond what we've delivered in the past together, our team is passionate about delivering this project. Our team members live on the alignment, we ride our bikes on the alignment, worked on 580 on express lanes, on commuter rail projects in highway medians, and along existing railroad right-of-ways. And if it's not obvious from looking out the window today, climate change and wildfires upon us, we're acutely aware that now's the time to do our part to lay the groundwork for the future. We're believers in transforming communities, improving mobilization, connectivity, livability, and ultimately people's lives. Thank you for the opportunity to serve Valley Link in delivering this transformative project to the region. You have the full commitment of our organizations to deliver for you and to the communities we all serve. Fast, cost-effective, and responsive. That's going to be our mantra. I know I speak for our entire team when I say that this project, in a place that we all call home, is a project of a lifetime for each of us. Thank you again. Olga, back.
Rick, does that complete your presentation?
Yeah.
That does.
That does.
Okay. Then I guess what I'm going to do at this point is see if there's any questions from the panelists. Paul, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
What
I'm
did you
just
say?
wondering.
You say pay attention?
I said thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I thought you said pay attention. I'm like, dude.
I know. I can't take that. That's too risky for my boss. No.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was just looking at Rick condition and this engineering firm based on what is happening around. Do they sign up to that condition that Rick had just stated about weekly update? Because circumstances do change. So I was just wondering if these two gentlemen agreed to whatever Rick had just shown us briefly on how to control this project.
We have, Director. We've negotiated through the terms and are in agreement with them, including that one. We're committed to it.
Okay. All right. So I just think you might need to be a little bit more flexible, but if you say you agree, then that's fine with me. Thank you.
I'd say get it in writing. I guess I'll ask, maybe this could go to Michael, to Rick, or to maybe John, but I think we've kind of assembled approximately 50 million in available funding for the current work that is proposed for preliminary engineering NEPA. What steps are you taking to make sure we do not overexpend these funds? Because I don't want to sit here and start writing checks.
Right. So this is Rick. I can answer that pretty clearly. One of the reasons for the co-management and engineering consultant, the project management and support services, is the ability to implement online real-time project controls. That goes well beyond just the labor information that we're going to be collecting. We're going to also track the available funding. We're establishing a module right now, but as the available funding comes in, we'll have a funding column. And then as we issue a work directive or any kind of authorization to proceed, which is incremental under the terms of the contract, although we're authorizing a big umbrella, we're going to authorize incremental pieces that will draw down on that funding commitment and establish exactly what remains to go. So we'll always have checks and balances in every time we issue a work directive. That help answer your question?
And then outside of the obvious, so don't say, well, we need to get NEPA done, but what opportunities you see in the near term to, on the horizon for federal funding? And what steps should we take to be ready? And please don't say NEPA, because I know that. I mean, I've been screaming that for years now.
Well, I would like to, that was one of the things we were looking for, and we put in the RFP for the consultants to address. So I would like the WSP firm to address that one, if they're more intimately familiar with that.
Sure, happy to, and thanks, Chairman Hagerty. It's the key next step is positioning the project for funding at every level. And so Sylvia Garcia is our identified lead, former DOT official who will help run the initial evaluation on those opportunities. There's clearly a lot happening right now at the federal level with CARES Act, federal reauthorization extension for a year, potential change in administration, in a potential resurrection of the faster regional measure, as well as some talk of state economic stimulus. But really, I would say that the most important thing we can do is make sure that the project is ready. And so I won't say NEPA because you told me not to, but it really needs to be a definition of the project as well as cost certainty as much as possible to be competitive, as well as understanding what the benefits are for the initial service on the project. So on the federal side, just for as an example, there are 6 criteria for federal new starts in the CIG program. 2 of those I think are very well suited for this project in reducing VMT, shifting modes from highway driving to transit. The other 2 that are really critical are cost effectiveness and economic development. And so I think looking at the corridor, the opportunity to demonstrate that there is a plan for development around the stations and creating sort of one-seat rides that are going to be new trips generated. Those are all pieces of the criteria that need to be proven through running those models and demonstrating that to the funding agencies. So that is that I think we have the runway that Rick described in the next 18 months to get a better definition on those costs and be competitive, because every project in the region is going to be looking in the same pots of money. So we have to be able to demonstrate not only the cost certainty, but also the political and local funding support.
Okay, and then Michael, maybe either you or Rick, maybe talk to us a little bit about the process. How many firms were interviewed? I guess just kind of the process and how you got there, and how many firms, things like that.
All right,
I would like to ask who was on the committee, but I'm sure you can't tell me that.
I will give you a lot. I won't tell the names, but so I started working on RFP, not too long after I came over just to make sure that, we had some, once I thought we needed to get federal fundings, we clearly had to go out with something like this to be eligible for the funds. And I put together a very, thorough RFP, very demanding RFP. And we ended up with 3 proposals that were all responsive to the requirements of the RFP. And I selected 7 people for the technical evaluation, which were going to be reviewing the proposals. About half of them highway people and about half of them rail transit people. So I've had an immense amount of experience on the panel doing both highway and rail. And so we did the evaluation on the technical and scored that. And then we augmented that team with a couple of experts in just key areas like funding, systems engineering, and the environmental for the oral. And we asked some of the questions related to those. So some of the outside organizations include ACTC, San Joaquin COG. I had a highway person from Contra Costa Transportation Authority. I had a BART person, and we had a couple of Valley Link people on board. And then we did the oral interview with all of them. And as Olga had mentioned, it was a unanimous decision in the end by all members in terms of the ranking of the proposers.
Rick, the only thing to add to that is with the pre-proposal conference, what we had about 100 people attend that pre-proposal conference, which was significant.
Correct.
So the outreach was well done.
So, you know, I think I can pretty much guess the firms that were involved. I guess, would it be possible for the board to see the scoring sheets?
We have kept the average aggregate scores only and not the individual personal scores. So we average.
Where are they?
In the vault.
Well, we were advised that we should not retain those. That could be, yeah. I would defer to legal counsel for that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
our standard practice is not to retain the individual scoring sheets. That's not something that's kept for public record. We do have the net, the total
I'm not
score.
the public, Michael. I'm the elected official that's making the decision.
Excellent point by our chair.
Again,
What?
I think the
What did she say?
the collected score is the appropriate document to be shared. I'm certainly not familiar with releasing that. I release it to the board. It's public. It's just, it's a risk to the agency to do that. And it's just not, it's not good procurement practice. So we have the summary score sheet, which tells you what you need to know. I think you have Rick's certification that every member of the panel was unanimous in their selection. If you want me to take it under advisement, I'll look into it, but I just don't, this is not something we do.
Well, is it safe to assume that those records have been destroyed?
Yeah, I would assume that.
They're not retained.
Thank you, Rick.
Yes, I would assume that.
I'm uncomfortable with that. I just want to say that there's been times that the counties, I don't know what the risk to the agency is by looking at them to make sure the scoring was done properly. I actually don't, I've seen scoring sheets before, and okay. I just don't know what the risk to the agency was. I don't understand why. I mean, I'm going to drop this one, but it's not normally how I operate, to be honest with you. And as an elected official that's making the decision, I think there's times I would like to see documentation on how they arrive. Because we're in the, we just basically have to, well, I mean, looking at Michael, I don't distrust the guy, but this is a whole trust me thing right now. I know WSP and all my work, and I know they're a fine agency, and that's not even what I'm trying to get at here. I just would prefer to be a little bit more transparent to the board than what we're being right now. But I'm going to let this one go, but I hope in the future we don't get caught in this.
All right. Well, why don't we provide you with some guidance in terms of why that practice is recommended, and then we can discuss it in a not so much in the award of a single contract, but as a general practice of governance. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a good reason for it. I don't know, but I think when you're a board member and you're trying to make the decision on behalf of the public, you want to make sure that you've seen as much documentation as possible. And that's kind of where I'm coming from on this, but I see no other hands from
I have
hold on, guys. We have a raise your hand feature.
Oh, well, let's see, where is it?
Go to participants and raise your hand. So I'm going to go to Paul, and then I'm going to go to Veronica.
Okay, just 1 second.
Hold on, Bernice. I'm going to Paul here.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chair, I think you were correct in your assumption that things like this, there needs to be a little bit of transparency in the way we do, our business. Because I look at the amount that is involved, and the only thing I see that's important is the NEPA issue. And that was a little bit of a concern to me, that with that kind of amount, there has to be some other things, like how many of these funds have you brought in, either from the federal level or at the local level, to other institutions that you have dealt with before? I mean, I love the engineering concept and the company and the presentation and stuff, but what the chairman is saying now is something we need to really pay attention to, because that's the way we're supposed to be doing some of these businesses that involves huge amount of money and recommendation from the federal government and the local government. We need to be a little bit more transparent. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all.
Okay, I do want to say though, one of the things that does give me some sort of confidence is the fact that Rick, and I know Rick is an honorable man, so we're going to leave it at that, but he said it was a unanimous decision of the committee. So for this one, it's not all that important that, it's not like we had some split vote, it was a back and forth tugging here. It seems to be pretty obvious, but I just think we need to talk about this maybe as an organization going forward. So with that, I'm going to go to Veronica Vargas, then I'm going to go to Bernice, and then Karen, and then Bob.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree. I think a little bit more context will be very much appreciated. So I'm looking for Michael, our attorney, to let us know what are the policies we need to implement, but in the spirit of transparency and understanding. One thing, and I don't take it personally, Michael, but I don't like when I've been told you're gonna make a decision based on the information I'm giving you. And I don't know, I don't think you meant it that way, but I should have all the information that I can think of so I can make the best educated decision for the public. And if that means I want to know how something got voted, where the score sheets were, and I need to understand all that stuff. And if somebody's asking for it, I think staff should be more than amenable to give those documents or that information. Not right now, and I heard you, Michael, and I appreciate you, letting the chair know that we can take it offline and we can just go over it. I'm looking forward to that. But and I trust our staff has been unbelievable. I can, say thank you enough. You guys are passionate about this project, but I think we need to have absolute, as much as we can, transparency to just make sure that we are making an educated decision with all the available information out there. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go to Bernice now.
Okay, what Vice Chair Veronica said was my sentiments. I think that the conversation should be taken offline, and I could appreciate people wanting to know, especially in your position, Chair Haggerty, that you want to know how things were reached, and I think you deserve that. But I do think it should have been handled. It could go offline, so you're satisfied. However, there is something that I just want to ask globally. This project is so important, and there's so many moving parts and dependencies. And to that end, I'd like to know that with everything that has to happen, are we still online as in our initial timeline to see our first train around 2026?
2028.
It's late 2027, 2028. But it's been consistent. That's where it's been for a while.
2027, 2028?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope sooner. I may be dead by then.
That's what I'm thinking. It might be hard for me to get up the steps, but about 2026, so I'll do more push-ups and I can make it 2028.
You guys will be fine.
All right, Karen Stepper.
Thank you. I think they have unmute. So y'all are making me a little uncomfortable with this discussion. I think that I was very comfortable when I came in here, and the things I heard, I thought that's what we hired Rick to do this examination. I don't usually, as a board member or mayor right now of Danville, go through all the details of each bid because that's the people I hired to do that for me. And so I'm uncomfortable with, there's been some objections, and I'm not even hearing that. I'm not hearing somebody's coming to sue us because there's an objection in how the bidding was done, because it's a consultant. It's a little bit different from lowest bid, so to speak. So other than the discussion here, I was quite comfortable when I came in here with this process, and I'm surprised that we would be taking that kind of detail into this kind of meeting and going through it one by one. So I don't think it's necessary when you have a committee of 7, 2 of whom were on Valley Link and came to a unanimous decision. So if there's somebody out there causing a problem, I would think the attorney would have been involved from the beginning and we'd be at that level. But right now, I was pretty excited with, always am every time I come here, with what Scott has achieved in this, leading us as a committee and getting the money to even do this, because we are in quote unquote such a hurry, even though, like Bernice, I feel like every year it's another year that we're before the trains are going to arrive. It's just knowing that when the money is asked for, it's going to be asked for every city across the United States, and that we're in huge competition every time we ask for funds, and we have to have this to match it. So I'm thrilled with where we are on it, and I'd be happy to make a motion.
Okay, okay, well, now I got to take it. I'll take the motion. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second.
Who was that?
It's Bernice.
Director Tingle.
Bernice? Okay, and under discussion, I'm going to go to Supervisor Elliott. I just want to say, though, I'm not trying to say there's any controversy. I'm not trying to say there's any lawsuits out there. What I am trying to say is this is a rather large contract. And when people ask me questions, I want to be able to answer them. And that's why I'm doing my due diligence as an elected official to be able to answer the public if they ask me something. So, Supervisor Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Great. All right. I had to exit the entire session and come back in because of so many difficulties. So I missed part of that.
You're good at it.
I missed part of that conversation, but I'm in agreement with Ms. Stepper that I think we've had a good process here. We've had an excellent committee that made the selection here, and I think we've got a good choice with it. And I'm just glad to see that we are finally taking the steps now to ensure that we've gone through all the appropriate procedures to make us eligible to apply for federal funding. I've long considered that we were at a big disadvantage as long as we weren't able to do that. Going through this process now will get us at the table for that federal funding eligibility. So I'm glad to see this happening, and I was prepared to second that, but it's already been done.
You're right. We have a motion in a second. I just want to be clear. I don't think I alluded to the fact of any controversy. I was alluding to the fact of process. I wasn't saying that Mr. Rattray hasn't done his job or the 7 individuals who volunteered their time to go through this contract. I wasn't saying that at all. I was just simply talking about process. So, and Mr. Conran may point out to me that I'm wrong. It happens.
Michael.
You know, it happens sometimes. Hey, mijo.
Question of practice. I do say we will make the summary scoring sheet available, which I think is the appropriate method to transmit the scores. I don't have that in my possession, but staff can certainly provide.
Okay, well, I think we've discussed this enough, to be honest with you, and I'll have a conversation with Michael about maybe how we do things moving forward, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Everybody clear on the motion? Luciano, how are you? You going to vote for your mom?
Yeah.
All right. Make sure you say yes. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
We have one attendee with their hand up.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, Roland.
Thank you. And do I get 2 or 3 minutes?
3
You
minutes.
get,
All
you
right.
get 2.
Oh, okay.
So let's see how much more uncomfortable I can make you.
Oh my goodness.
I raised my hand. It's when Mr. Fisher brought up Parsons in 1885. I'm extremely familiar with that period because my great-grandfather was a Belgian engineer by the name of Jean Jadot, who delivered the line, the 800-mile line between Beijing and Wuhan in 8 years. It's the most profitable line in the world ever. It was so profitable that it actually generated all the revenue the Chinese ever needed to buy the line. And that's what they did. They got the line for free. But south of that, Mr. William Barclay Parsons was supposed to be building another line, with the other half between Wuhan and Canton. And if you Google my great-grandfather's name, his name is Jean Jadot, spelled Jean Jadot, and Parsons, you're gonna get one hit in the 1904 New York Times. That explains to you why Mr. Parsons didn't build that line and why the Chinese had to pay him the equivalent of $6 billion for him to go away. But the reason he didn't build that line is because my great-grandfather had him fired when they asked him to look at the line. They said, could you please help them build the other section of the line? Now, moving forward 1 century, let's go back to June 2015 and what happened in Los Angeles. When the High Speed Rail Authority gave the Rail Delivery Partner contract to Parsons Brinckerhoff, I immediately contacted Dan Richards and I told him, Dan, for crying out loud, what were you thinking? Because the other people who bid for this were Bechtel, Arab and Sister, who happened to have built the high-speed line in my backyard back in England. And Dan looked at me and said, Roland, what are you talking about? And I met Dan again 3 years later in San Jose, and he told me, Jesus Christ, Roland, don't ever repeat this to anybody, but boy, were you right. We should never, ever have awarded that contract to these guys. And now let's wrap this up. I just got off the high-speed rail board meeting this morning. We're looking at an absolute disaster in the Central Valley. We're looking about bridges that were not built to standard, that had to be demolished and reconstructed. And we're now looking at another bridge that is on the verge of collapse. And that basically is my 2 cents. And if that makes you more comfortable, well, all good to you. Thank you and have a nice day.
The hell was that about?
Oops. Thank you, Roland. I gave you 2 minutes. The clerk gave you 3, so you did good. You came in somewhere in the middle. So with that, I'm asking for a roll call vote.
Okay. Akinjo,
Yes, ma'am.
Elliott,
Yes.
Haggerty,
Yes, ma'am.
Hernandez,
Yes.
King Tingle,
Yes.
Marchand,
Aye.
McPartland,
Aye.
Neram,
Yes.
Olon, Olon, Stepper,
Yes.
This is Phil Alone. I just got bumped out and back in. Yes.
okay. Vargas,
Yes.
Zuba.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much. We're going to move to item 8.
All right, we'll have David Katrowski with this item. Basically, it's the very latest on the ridership modeling that we've been doing, as well as the conceptual cost estimate update. So David?
Great, thank you. All right, trying to share screen here. Here we go. All right. Great, thank you very much.
That was a great
Here.
report.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. Good afternoon, Chair Haggerty and Vice Chair Vargas and board members. My name is David Katrowski. I am with the Project Management Support Services team.
I have a question.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding.
Thank you, Director.
Philip, can you lose your connection again, please?
This is a slide deck that was sent to you before. It's 21 slides. I'm only going to hit on 7, given where we are with the meeting here. I just want to hit on some highlights. We did have an update on the ridership forecast, and the reason for the updated forecast were 2 primary reasons. You've been briefed in the past on the revisions to the 15% design plans, which had reduced travel times as well. We've made some adjustments to the headways, primarily in the midday. We did reduce the number of frequencies and move those frequencies actually into the peak period. And you'll see why this is a heavy peak period influenced ridership on these trains here. So the 7-minute reduction resulted in 6,800 weekday additional riders above the prior forecast, which equivalates to 1.7 million additional riders for the service. So it's quite a substantial increase. So I'm going to go down to this slide here. There were 3 scenarios that were looked at. 2025 had 2 scenarios. It was the Mountain House iOS, where I'm circling right now. And then there was the full route service, which had 2 service patterns in there. And I think you're familiar with this from the prior presentations. There were 12-minute headways in the peak period out of Mountain House iOS, combined with 24-minute headways out of Lathrop, North Lathrop, excuse me. And then in the 2040, this was the full route service from North Lathrop to Dublin Pleasanton, and those were 12-minute headways all day. So what we see here is, let me see if I've got this right. I'm gonna go to this. So I'm sorry, I want to apologize for that. I got one slice. So these are the 3 scenarios. Apologize for that. I'm getting this here. So in the Mountain House iOS, this assumed services for all 3 scenarios were the South Front Station rather than the Greenville Station. Under 2025, there's a 34% increase to 11,100 weekday riders. And then scenario number 2, this had the mix of the Mountain House and Lathrop service plan. That was 13,400. That was an increase of 23% from the prior ridership forecast. And then 2040 went way up to 33,000 riders per day. That was an increase of 26%. And that difference between 26,200 here and the 33,000, that's your 6,800 additional riders in the 2040. So just to give you some context and reference here, the 11,000 and 13,000 in 2025, which is actually, let me take a step back, in 2025, the actual services we mentioned is going to be a couple years later, but that based the forecast on the demographics, and those fixed information is only available in 5-year increments. So we call it 2025, but this is the initial year of service. So in the initial year of service, under the 2 scenarios here, 11,000 and 13,000, the Valley Link service would be within the top 15 busiest commuter rail lines in the United States. And in 2040, with 33,000, would move into the top 10. And then under each one of these scenarios here across the board, Valley Link would be the 3rd busiest commuter rail system in California, behind Caltrain and Metrolink. So it's quite substantial, and that's what some of you were talking about today, about the potential for this service, and it really shows in these ridership forecasts. I'm now going to go and show you what happens on the BART system when these trains show up at the Dublin Pleasanton station. So there are 38 Valley Link alightings at Dublin Pleasanton during the peak period, and there's 15 peak period trains in the Mountain House scenario in 2025. So those 3,800 divided by 15 gives you 216 riders on each peak period train, which uses up 40% of a Valley Link 6-car MU train. So these are the 2 3-car trains put together become one 6-car unit, and that takes up 40% of the rider, 40% of the seating capacity. Now what happens when this train arrives at BART? Of those 3,800, 3,400 are actually transferring to BART, and then using the ridership scenarios and methodologies that were used in the ridership methodology, of those 3,400, only 900 are new BART riders. So that means that of the 3,400, 2,500 are current riders on the BART system today. However, they're either driving or taking a bus or some other means to get to the BART Dublin Pleasanton station. So then when you take a look at these 900 passengers, let's see what happens at the BART system. So these 900 passengers are spread out over 15 trains. So that's approximately 60 new BART riders on a Valley Link train transferring to a BART train, which comprises 5%, which equivalates to this pink shaded area. It's little on the far left of the screen. So it's a pretty small amount as far as an impact. So then when we look at phase one, once again, this is the North Lathrop 2025. This is the mixed service here. So what you see here is the transfer from passengers to BART. This is the full route trains coming from North Lathrop. There will be approximately 400 passengers transferring on each Valley Link train coming over, of which 300 would be new riders. So those 300 new riders onto BART take up 25% of a 10-car BART train. That's this pink shaded area here. And then we look at the Mountain House trains. These are the trains every 12 minutes. And we assume 7 trains during the peak period. And you have 130 of those Valley Link passengers would be transferring to BART. Of those 130, 90 would be new BART riders. And so that would use up 8% of the capacity on a 10-car BART train. Now I'm going to go to the last scenario, which is the full build. And so there's 11,500 Valley Link passengers getting off at the Dublin Pleasanton station. So that's 770 riders on a peak period train. Remember in the earlier slide, 2 3-car unit trains, a 6-car train had 642 passengers. So we would add a full new train set to this. So you would have 3 cars, and an additional 3 cars for a total of a 9-car multiple unit train set. That's pretty long. And we're going to be building our stations and maintenance facility to those requirements. And so that's 80% capacity already in the year 2040. That's quite a significant. It's not crowded like a BART train, but it's crowded like an ACE train. So if you're familiar with either one of those. So you can see what happens now at BART. So of those 11,500, 10,070 are transferring to BART, of which 6,200 are new BART riders. You take that 6,200 divided by 15, you get 410 new BART riders from each Valley Link train to a BART train. And that would use up over 1/3 of the capacity of a BART train. And I've got 2 more slides left. So just in summary, I know I went through this fast, but I just want to highlight the bottom 2 rows here for you. Once again, these are the 3 scenarios. 2 under 2025 are the opening year, and then 2040 here is the 3rd column. That's full route service, 12-minute headways out of North Lathrop. So a summary, as I presented before, there would be 60 new BART passengers coming from Valley Link in the year 2025, or opening year with the Mountain House IOS, comprising, that would use up 5% of a 10-car BART train. Now, when we look to the split services, as I mentioned, 12-minute headways out of the Mountain House with using the Mountain House trains, and the full route trains at 24 minutes, you'd have 90 new BART riders coming from Valley Link trains. So that you would use up 8%, and then 300 coming from the Lathrop trains, which would use up 25% of a 10-car BART train. And under the last scenario, 410 new riders onto BART from a Valley Link train, which would use up 34%. A 10-car BART train. We took one, as the last slide come up, we took one more look at what it does to the busiest stations at BART. So I'm going to highlight the top one here, Embarcadero, where it says 12, 63, and 78. Each one of these links up with the scenarios I just showed you. This is opening day, Mountain House. There would be 12 new BART riders getting off at Embarcadero from Valley Link trains. They would take the Valley Link train, transfer to BART, then get off at Embarcadero. That's per train, Valley Link train. And then 63 new BART riders on Valley Link train getting off at Embarcadero under the scenario where it's the mixed service of North Lathrop and Mountain House under an opening year. And then full build out 2040, 12-minute headways out of North Lathrop, there'll be 78 passengers coming from a Valley Link train that are new BART riders getting off a BART train in Embarcadero. So that closes my presentation. I know it was abbreviated, but I'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you for your time.
Oh, Rick, I apologize. Maybe it's the smoke. Are you saying that there's actually more new BART riders coming from the Tri-Valley as opposed to the San Joaquin Valley? I was trying to put two slides together.
Yeah.
I saw this slide, but is that really what you're telling me?
No, actually it's the opposite, Chair Haggerty.
Okay.
If you look at, this is the full route train. And so these are primarily San Joaquin County based passengers. You're going to have some Mountain House here, but you can see that's 300 right there.
Yeah, and this is why I asked the question though, because you go back a couple slides and then you start rolling to this. To me, it seemed like, I think there was one part where you said, maybe I misunderstood you. There was 900.
Yeah, let me get to that. So let me go. This is a little bit more detailed, but this shows the split, if I may, on the North Lathrop mixed service. So these are the trains, the full route trains coming out of North Lathrop. And this is the utilization on a Valley Link train. So you can see there's 450 average passengers on a Lathrop train out of North Lathrop versus Mountain House. There's 140. This is the 450 versus 140. So you can see there's more utilization because these have more stops in San Joaquin County. And we have more detail, not in this, but we can provide those and those.
Okay, so but the bottom line is BART can handle what we'll give them.
That's what it looks like from here because of the what you all approved was the mixed service under here in 2025. And then when we went to 2040, where the ridership really got large, is when we went to 12-minute headways out of North Lathrop. So yes, that by increasing frequencies in the peak period, we're able to prevent that overwhelming of the BART platform.
All right. Can you get off screen share so I can see if there's other people with questions?
Yes, I will.
Oh, wait, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
I do have two. I've got Veronica Vargas and says I have two. Where's the other one? Who's the other one? Oh, and then Karen Stepper. Go ahead, Veronica.
Thank you, Chair. It's impressive. You guys have done a ton of work and it shows. This update is eye-opening for a lot of people here. I wish we can just send it to every city so they understand what the impact on the ridership is. But most importantly, thank you for making that comment, Chair, about this will not negatively impact BART. And I know John is there. I just wanted to confirm and reaffirm people that this will not negatively impact BART services. Is that correct?
That's what we're looking at. We'll have some further details, but in the opening year, we certainly see very low numbers of net new riders to BART. Once again, there's a lot of passengers who are going to use Valley Link who previously were driving from either San Joaquin County or Livermore or other areas and going to the BART Dublin Pleasanton stations. But yes, under the first two scenarios here in the opening year, the numbers look like they can be accommodated. BART is taking a look at these. BART staff is taking a look at these numbers right now, and we have scheduled meetings to get down into the details in any of their comments.
That's great. So my other comment is, and I know I shared this when I reviewed the agenda and I called Michael on this, and just to just not have confusion. We're now opening. I wish we could, but this 2025 date is not actually when we are going to be operating, correct?
Correct. Yes, that was an oversight on my behalf. It should say opening year. The reason it says 2025 is that's the forecast year because everything's done in 5-year increments as far as, the jobs, housing, all those travel demand demographics. So it should say opening year.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I applaud all of you for this this exercise. It really shows the capacity and the volume and the amount of demand that for this kind of service that we have in this area. Thank you.
Welcome.
Aaron Stepper.
Just a quick question. I understand this is showing all the capacity of the trains. How does it take into account again the amount of homes being built out there in San Joaquin Valley? So are we showing an increase in the number of people when we're doing this? The number of homes, the number of transit riders, or are we coming up with just the number of that we're able to carry on the trains?
So yeah, the answer is yes. It's based off the forecasted demand. That's based off housing as well as job growth, and we can get you those details for those assumptions.
No, thank you very much. That's just what I wanted to clarify. So
Sure.
Appreciate it. Mhm.
You don't have to.
Philip Alone.
Thanks, David. Is there any sort of assumptions built in that BART's headways will change?
Yes, and that was one of the slides I skipped, and I can show that to you.
Oh, looks like you had a good question.
There you go. I was thinking ahead. I did my homework, Scott.
Yes, it's under slide 4 that was sent previously. We've had numerous discussions with BART on what their service plans would be in the future, not only in the opening year, but it is 12-minute headways with their CBTC project being completed right before our opening year. And they've told us to, in the year 2040, assume that same 12-minute headway.
And that's why it meshes. Otherwise, it just becomes a mess at the platform.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Director McFarland.
David, thank you very much for all the hard work that you put into this. And I've been challenged by staff and by public in the past as to what the impact is going to end up being and how bad it's going to basically bring the entire L line to a screeching halt and overwhelm it. And your information is going to be able to not only give me the opportunity to answer that, but also to be able to quantify it. And for that, I am very grateful. Thank you very much for all your hard work.
Thank you, and thank Rick and AECOM as well for their help on this.
All right, I have no other speakers, no other panelists wish to speak. Are there opportunities that we could maybe do some things to improve our travel time and then also increase our ridership even more, since BART still has capacity?
This is Rick. I will take that one. One of the areas where we have the most opportunity going forward to increase travel time, actually pretty much the only area, is over the Altamont. There's a lot of curves in Altamont that could be manipulated slightly to increase the average speed over there. I think we've got a few concepts we're looking at right now that could shave at least 3 to 4 minutes. That 6,800 ridership number was based on a reduction of 7 minutes. So I don't know what 3 or 4 minutes can do. I know there's a mechanism to do that and maybe even do better. So quite potentially we could save another 7 minutes in runtime and add another 6,000 or 7,000 riders to the system. I'll be looking at that with the new GEC.
Okay, Rick, thank you. Oh, John, you already went, so I don't think you're trying to get in again, are you, John?
Yeah, that's Marchand, not McPartland.
Oh, you're right. These damn new glasses.
No, just me.
What's in the smoke there at the?
That's all the smoke. Everybody's just blowing smoke. No, I just wanted to make what's really kind of a fairly obvious statement here, but to follow up with what Director McPartland just said. What we're really seeing here is it's not going to be a negative impact on BART. But what we're seeing is that so many people are clogging 580 trying to get to BART that the real impact that we're going to see is fewer cars jamming 580 and the Altamont. So that's really going to be a tremendous regional benefit. To your point, Supervisor Haggerty, about lowering the air quality impacts that we've seen for so many years. All those 93,000 vehicles that are clogging the freeway. So that's going to be the real benefit, is taking the cars off the freeway, people that are already using BART. So I think that's going to be a very powerful argument as we move ahead.
Thank you, John. All right, so with that, I have nobody else that wishes to speak. Was there any letters received from the public?
No, we don't have anything.
Okay, well, that means that we are done with this. We appreciate the good work by the staff on this. It really is exciting to know that really the only impact we're going to add to BART is where they're running a line that's underutilized. We'll be able to put more people on that train that will put more money in BART's coffers. So they should really be thanking us for this. So with that, I believe, are there any board of directors with anything they would like to say?
Can I interject? This is Rick. I was going to go through the revised conceptual cost estimate as part of.
Pardon me?
I was going to go through the revised conceptual cost estimate. It's
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Okay, go ahead, Rick. What?
All right. So David mentioned to you that we saved 7 minutes in travel time. And really, this was a result of several things. One was putting in the sidings to make the 12-minute headways work. But when we got those more riders, you could see from his presentation that the vehicles got very full, and we had to go to a 3-car contest potentially in the 2040 period. So we then had to look at acquiring more vehicles. And as soon as we added more vehicles to the fleet, then the maintenance facility had to grow to accommodate the future demand. So what really happens in this new conceptual estimate is, and I'll show you with you right here, is the cost went up, and I'm just going to look at the mid-range. We had a 2019 capital cost at 2.2 billion, midpoint of construction in 2018 dollars. And then in 2020, it went up 16% to 2.63 billion for the full extension to Latra. What really the takeaway of this is, I'm not sure if you, let me go to the next slide, sorry. Really the takeaway of it is that 91% of that 16.4% increase is 390 million. And all of that, that is what's attributed from this gray bar to the top here. The purple part is what is attributed to the increased service. And so you can see on a segment by segment basis here, the incremental costs. And this is really on the segment 1, that's the additional siding cost to make the 12-minute headways. And segment 2, that's the additional siding cost in the purple. And segment 3, that's the additional siding cost. And then, as I mentioned, we had to buy more vehicles. The vehicles was a big, jump in cost to have a 50% increase in vehicles. But then you can see that the maintenance facility had to expand also. So really, like I say, it's most of the cost is a direct result of the increased ridership and the demand and the new sidings. So I wanted to throw in a few other things. That's really the base cost. We did evaluate a few variants. Doing an electric vehicle adds $281 million to that base cost. Each vehicle costs roughly $2.25 million more. And so for 32 vehicles, that's $72 million. And then the catenary system itself would be $209 million. So there is an increase to going electrified, and I'm hoping to bring back it sometime by the end of the year, near the end of the year, a cost benefit analysis showing the payback period should we elect to go with the electrification. And then to address a question that came up, I don't know if it was 2 board meetings ago or the last board meeting, but there was a question about going fully double track. And so we did an evaluation on the full double track and identified that would be an increase of $1.3 billion to the program.
Double tracks.
And then lastly, for part of the plan area cost submittal, we were asked, hey, what's the cost for the Alameda County portion? So we segregated the Alameda County portion from the San Joaquin County portion. And so this is the methodology that was used that gave us a midpoint of construction cost for Alameda County in FY24 of $2.34 billion. We took the alignment, the actual physical infrastructure to the county line, and we took 60%, 4% of the vehicles as that cost would be attributed based on a portion of length in a county. And then 50% of the maintenance facility cost was included to get to this 1.93 billion that was then escalated since that was FY18 to match the 2.34 billion in FY24, which, as I recall, MTC had a number that they were using of 2.33 billion. So we were pretty much spot on with their assumptions for the 2050 Plan Bay area. And with that, that really is just a highlight of the major components of what drove the cost. And you can see it's mostly due to increasing the sightings and the benefit of that reflecting the need for more maintenance facility and vehicles.
So Rick, let me try something. Can you go back to the slide that showed, next one, this one, on the segments. So segment 1 is the Tri-Valley segment?
Correct. That is the highway component.
What is 2?
The Altamont component. And
what is 3?
The San Joaquin component.
So the San Joaquin component getting you to Mountain House or Tracy area?
The San Joaquin drops off after Mountain House before Tracy.
But does it,
I'm sorry.
Does it get to where we want to have the permanent permanent?
This is all the way to Lathrop.
Which one?
The total cost here breaks down the.
No. What I'm trying to figure out is when we talk about building the maintenance facility you talk about, that's a temporary maintenance facility that could cost $100 million. Correct?
The maintenance facility envisioned is just past Mountain House and would not be temporary. That'd be the permanent one on the.
I understand that, but if we only build segment 1, you're going to need a temporary maintenance facility.
That's correct.
Okay, until we can get to San Joaquin County.
That's correct.
What I'm trying to get at is, can we look at getting to the permanent maintenance facility? That way, I mean, we could save some money by not building a temporary facility. Can somehow we look at that cost as a segment 1?
Yes, I can do that. I think you're going to need to build the larger, most of segment 2 to get there, because the maintenance facility is on the far end of segment 2, which would take you past Mountain House.
Right. If you could look at that, I would appreciate it. There seems to be a move afoot that wants to try to make that to be the first operating segment.
Okay, we could definitely look at that.
So I think we need to get kind of on the front end of that discussion.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, if you don't really totally understand everything I'm saying, give me a call.
Yeah, I will do that. I want to make sure I'm doing the right, what you're thinking. So we'll do
Yeah,
that.
okay. Vargas and then Alone.
Thank you, Chair. So on this same screen, can we name those segments to be clear? If I'm understanding this screen right, segment 3 is from the Alameda County line to whatever first station is in the San Joaquin Valley. That will be a cost of 50 million.
No, it's not the county line. It's the end of the Altamont and the beginning of the San Joaquin, which is at the bottom, the base of the foothills there.
So what is the cost? This same, have you done this same charge for this side of the hill from the San Joaquin Valley?
San Joaquin County is essentially the segment 3 component.
So that's what I thought that I said.
Okay. I'm sorry. No, you did say that. San Joaquin is the section past the Altamont. In segment 3 is the section of San Joaquin past the base of the Altamont.
Okay. So that 50 million covers the first station within the San Joaquin County, correct? Not counting the operations maintenance facility. Is that correct?
That's correct. That is the incremental cost of double tracking all the way to Lathrop for the 12-minute passing sightings.
Okay, I'm confused now. So segment 3 does not go to Lathrop. It does.
Yes, it does.
So for $50 million, we go all the way to Lathrop.
So you had the original, that's the incremental cost for the additional passing sightings. If you look at the first row below there, you have the mid-range construction cost for segment 3 in 2019, 304.49 million. The incremental cost based on the new sightings is 355 million. So you have 355 million to do from Mountain House essentially to Lathrop.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Sort of, kind of.
And the delta is what I showed in purple, which is the cost delta that's attributed to the benefits we're achieving with the sightings and the, to get the passenger volumes up.
Is there any way to make this a little bit more clear? Again, the naming segments will be ideal. The initial operating segment, which will be Mountain House, being the first station, then what it will cost to get it to downtown Tracy, and then the Lathrop. Because we're facing in different ways. I just need to know the target I'm shooting here, and and I need to activate people in this area to see if we can just all work together to raise those dollars.
Absolutely.
I'm still not clear what those dollars are.
Yeah, I can break this down and I can show it against each segment. I can show you the delineation of segments and then break out past. It sounds like you're interested in knowing where segment 2 stops, and then the increment from segment 3 to Tracy, which I can definitely do.
Correct.
Do from segment 1, what are the options to get to the permanent maintenance facility?
That's right. And Rick, on your later slides, you showed the costs, but it doesn't. Is anywhere maybe I missed it? What is the total cost of this project?
If you look at the far right side here, that is represented by the bar with the purple on top. But if you go down to the bottom there, you can see the 2019 mid-range at just under 2.2 billion. And then in 2020 mid-range is 2.6.
So 2.2 million is roughly the entire cost of the entire first phase?
That was the old one, and the row underneath is the 2.6 billion. That is the entire cost in 2018 dollars all the way to Lathrop.
Could you go to, I think it's a couple more slides forward, right there. So you're saying 2.6 billion is the total cost of the entire project all the way to Lathrop, correct?
Correct.
So it seems disproportional. Not that I'm complaining, but so you're saying Alameda County portion is 2.3. How come? How come it's so expensive for them?
You need to stay with 2018 dollars, which is the 1.93 billion for the Alameda County portion. The 2.34 is the escalated to midpoint of construction.
Still, it's a okay. I'm not complaining.
I think the freeway costs a lot of money.
Freeway is 40% of the project cost.
Wow. Okay, so by this number, if I make the 2.6 billion minus the 2.3 billion, that is the delta to build in San Joaquin County this project.
2.6 minus the 1.93 would be the equivalent of the 2018 dollars. So you're looking at 2.66, I think it was, minus that. So it's about 700 million, it looks like, to get there.
To build Valley Link all the way to the Lathrop.
Correct, 700 million incremental. And let me go up this slide. I think it'll show here. If you add, no, that won't do it. But it's 700 million for the San Joaquin portion in 2018 dollars.
Okay. Okay. So
you escalate it. We escalated a little over 3.2, I think at 3.2% a year to get to the midpoint of construction for the Alameda County portion.
okay. All righty.
Just a quick question. Rick, when you plan something like that maintenance facility and it's something that is there for decades, Kaiser does something where they build a 4-story medical office building and 2 of the floors are just shelled out. Do you do something similar in this circumstance because you know that you don't really need a bunch of the facility for an extended period of time?
Absolutely. The maintenance facility will be phased in. We will build the storage tracks for only a number of vehicles that we need initially. And then when we acquire more vehicles, we will expand it appropriately.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Chair, I have to head to another meeting. Appreciate all the work, and a shout out to Executive Director Tree for the agency award, and great picture. He looks like an agency award winner there, Michael. So thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.
He needs a haircut. John Marchand.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that as we're talking about the Alameda County portion and we're talking about how the different segments are aligning, just to recognize that the Alameda County portion, especially the part where we're going to be widening the freeway, all the riders are going to benefit from that. It's not just the riders from Alameda County will benefit. Riders from the entire system will benefit because we in Alameda County are going to be widening the freeway to accommodate the trains for everybody to go through. So I want to make sure that we don't just say, well, Alameda County has to pay for all of this because they're going to benefit. It's happening in Alameda County, but widening the freeway will allow this project to move forward to allow everyone to use this system. So just to recognize that.
Good point, John. My takeaway from this is we better get a shovel in the ground pretty quick because this project's getting expensive. So
well, that was why I couldn't wait until 2035 for the next phase, is if we waited until then, it would never happen because the inflation is going to make this thing undoable, because we've got $400 million from Measure BB. And as the cost of this continues to go up, that 400 million is not going to increase. So we need to move quickly to take advantage of the time value of money.
Right. I think the good thing is we also have, RM3, SB1, some other funding sources, but I agree with you. Time is of essence here. And I know staff understands that, and they're doing that. We're working towards that. Paul, you got something you want to say?
Yes, I was hoping that Rick should have had a breakdown for the portion of San Joaquin County on this slide. it'd be a lot easier, like the vice chair was trying to insinuate, for us to market or to sell to the people. But right now we are doing some calculations over our head, 2.3 minus 1.9. You know, we need something concrete, Rick. If you can do that, that will make it a lot easier. It's not to put any pressure on the county or any of the supervisors, but we do need to have a goal. This is our target, so we need to focus on it. So that's just my comment. Alameda County is spending a lot of money, which is good, and thank you, Chairman, for all your effort and stuff. But we too need to start to pull our weight at the other side of the valley too. So it would be nice.
Yeah, I understand what everybody's saying. And I do know that it will get down to, for example, Measure B money can't be spent in San Joaquin County. We all get that. But quite frankly, I look at the total. It's how much we need for the project, how much we're going to have to work together as a committee to get that amount of money to get this project built. I don't care about how much, how much Alameda County, how much San Joaquin County. Yes, I want you to pass a 1/2 cent sales tax or a full cent sales tax that helps you raise your portion of the money. But you know what? It is our debt. We are one committee trying to build a rail line that will ease congestion in Alameda County and get people from San Joaquin County into their jobs in San Jose and up into Contra Costa County, up into San Francisco and beyond in Alameda County. So I just look at it as it's one big debt that we all have to figure out how to raise the money. And when we go to DC and ask for that big pot of money, we're going to do it as San Joaquin County and Alameda County.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way we're going to get this thing done, if we work collaboratively and spend less time worrying about that, and more time how we're going to get to the entire good of the project and get it done. That's what we have to do. So John, you want to say something?
Yeah, just one more quick thing. And maybe I'm just getting ahead of it, but where are the Union Pacific rail costs? Where are the least costs in this?
Well, as you know, most of this is on track that we own.
Okay.
Which is great, which is why we can run 12-minute headways and we're not restricted by UP, and only get trackage rights for so many a day. There's only one portion, and Michael, you can probably explain this better than me, but there's only one portion, a small portion in the Tracy area that we would actually have to purchase. And I think Michael is talking to UP right now. It's a rocky discussion. It's a hard discussion. It always is with UP. But he's in that, but we won't have operating rights that we have to pay for.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Did I explain that right, Michael?
Yeah, to Tracy, you're correct.
Right. It's the olive plant that they run a train once a month on.
Yeah, a couple times a month. So yeah, you hit it right on the head. That's that segment from the county line into Tracy.
So Michael, just buy it so we don't have to worry about it.
That's the Musco olives.
Yeah, that's right.
I like olives. All right.
Musco olives.
Anybody else on this? Bernice, are you trying to get in?
Yes, but I can't see where I can raise my hand on I'm using my iPhone. But I just have a quick comment to Vice Chair Veronica's Vargas's statement is that to me, it's important to know what the segment of money that's required by San Joaquin County is, because if we go through and make a proposal of raising our sales tax, sometimes things are very palatable to people when you know how much benefit your county is going to get from it. And as far as how much money has to be raised, people buy into things when they see, well, hey, we're spending a lot of money in order, San Joaquin County spending a lot of money. And in order to get the funds raised, this justifies why sales tax has to be raised X number of percentages.
And Bernice, I understand that, but let me just crystal ball this for a second. When you sit down with the entire San Joaquin County and you say, okay, what are our needs? Well, there's going to be needs in Stockton. There's going to be needs in Tracy. There's going to be needs in Lathrop. And if you came in and said, well, I need 1 point, and I'm just guessing, okay, $1.4 billion to build a train, you know, into San Joaquin County, they're going to laugh at you because you're only going to get so much. You're only going to get a portion. So as when we did Measure B, all we got was 400 million based on all the needs in Alameda County. We got 400 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And we have over 600 million. But if you can match, you know, if you come up with some money like that, I'm not saying you have to, I'm just saying if you get a portion of the cost and we have a portion of the cost, then we need to know what we can go to the state and the federal government to get the rest of the money from. So it's not so much, it's not a target you're trying to hit. You're not trying to hit the full amount. You're trying to negotiate the best deal you can get out of your entire cog and how much they're going to say you get for this project. You see what I'm saying?
Thank you. I'm with you on that. You don't,
Okay.
so you don't have to bear the entire cost, but it's good to know the amount of money that's out there that we do have to acquire in order to make this project go ahead and be successful.
Right. And when John and I fought over Measure BB, not we fought together, but when we were fighting with, you know, the other powers of Oakland and Hayward and Union City, you know, we held fast. We said 400 million is, they tried to knock us down a couple times down to 300 million and once to 200 million. And we kept saying, no, we want $400 million. This is what we need to be able to sell this to our constituents.
And they tried to give us a bus.
Thank you for that.
They're still trying to give you a bus.
Yes, they did.
And we're still fighting.
Still fight. It's a fight.
It
But
was a
look,
good
I mean,
fight.
this is where I get back to what I was saying earlier today. This is something collectively we need to work on, and we need to quit worrying about San Joaquin, Alameda County, because ultimately the rest of the money is going to come from somebody else. And that's, we have to go get that money from somebody else.
Matching money, matching money.
Yeah. All right.
And thank you guys again for your tenacity for getting that 400 million.
I had brown hair back then.
That's a lot of money, huh? You did.
Okay, so Bernice, I said I had brown hair back then.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually a really nice dirty blonde color. So listen, Rick.
Yes.
Are you done?
Yes, I am done.
I don't want to cut you off again.
No, I am done. Thank you.
All right, are there any comments, questions, or agenda requests for directors going forward? Seeing none? Nobody raising their hand? All right, well, I got some good news. Looks like we'll be on Zoom in October. And it looks like we're adjourned. Everybody have a good, hi, Mijo. Everybody say hi to Luciano in the back. Hello, Luciano.
Hi.
All right, with that, we're adjourned. Enjoy your day. The sun's coming out, by the way.
Oh,
Thank you.
Nice.
How are you, man?
Bye.
Thank you for the meeting, not for the sun.